This is Sataanmuanglek. He is one of the great clinch fighters, knee fighters of the contemporary era of Muay Thai. He fights at like 105 pounds, and he's just awesome. So here he's working me through a bunch of different clinch throws, which really are his more spectacular techniques. He twists and turns and drops his opposition with this beautiful finesse. The thing about turns is that you really don't want to use power on any of them. They're all about timing and technique. So he's going to keep emphasizing to me how to use timing. Here, he's helping me into the position that he was in. He's southpaw, I'm southpaw. So you're able to use this in mixed stance positions, but because we're both standing southpaw, you'll often see where our legs are arranged might be different depending on whether your opponent is southpaw or not and whether you're southpaw or not. But really you just want to make connections with whichever leg is forward. So look at how he's putting his front leg inside my leg, and then his opposite arm is under my armpit. Like it's creating a handle under my armpit, and you want to kind of bend your knee out at the same time that you're pushing under the armpit to create this kind of pop in order to turn. It's not a power move. Again, you're not using strength. You're using this like swiftness and angles in your turn in order to generate a lot of power to like flip your opponent, but you're not using power. And see how he's bringing his front leg back? That's important because when you twist somebody, you always want to be setting up for the knee that's after it. So see how my leg is on the inside of his leg, and I have to kind of like bow my front leg forward and then turn on the opposite side as I twist. There he's making a point about how you don't just pull and then knee with your leg in the same position it was in. You have to pull your leg back in preparation for the counter on the other end of it, because turning or throwing someone in and of itself is not an amazing point. It's off balancing and then landing your knee is what you're trying to do. So here he's showing me if someone has a really nice double grab on your neck, he's saying you can't go over both arms because both arms are strong together. So you either go under one arm or over one arm and you pull down one side and then elbow over it. So it's basically like a parry and counter that you would get on like a punch or something, but from a locked clinch position. He leaves his front foot forward and just bows backwards. His weight comes back onto his back leg. By leaving his front leg forward, it allows that counter to have a lot of impact because you're not losing distance. You want to stay close to your opponent. So it's important to not peg leg your back leg, and you don't want to take a step back with your front leg. You just want to do this kind of like lunge back and then come forward. Here what he's showing me is the same lunge back with the back leg, but you're timing it with the opponent kneeing. So as you come back, you're basically dodging the opponent's knee, and then as their knee is missing and finishing, you're countering with the open side elbow. So he wants me to be strong holding his neck here. This is an opponent who has like a good lock in the clinch. What he does is he dips his arm under my lock and he gets his bicep underneath my tricep. What's important about that is that his elbow goes past my elbow so that when his forearm goes in front of my face, all the pressure goes over my shoulder and twists me to the side. People who do jiu-jitsu understand pressure points. That's exactly what this is, but you have to get your elbow past their elbow. See how he dips his shoulder past my elbow? That's what creates that pressure to be able to flip me to the side.
Step by the foot.
What I really like about a couple of these throws that he shows me that involve the arm being under like this is that it's not a dominant position. You generally don't want your arm in the underhook in clinching. But because it's the non-dominant position, opponents will let you have it there. And if you find your arm there, if you have a quick counter and turn, you can turn it into a dominant position even though it's not a dominant position. Or you can turn it into an advantageous position. So he's got a good lock on me. I can't go under. So what I do is I like swim my shoulder past his elbow. See how I stepped with my right leg instead of like stepping towards him with my left leg and then pivoting over? There we go. You have to step towards your opponent on that turn. You can't take distance on that turn. It doesn't work. Because you're trying to create pressure. So now we're kneeing each other because he's making a point about how a lot of these moves, because they're not power moves, are all about timing. In Thai the word is jangwa. It means timing and rhythm. So you wait for your opponent to be on one leg because you're kneeing each other. And then while their leg is in the air, again, he's putting his arm under my arm, and with his opposite hand, he's basically like pinning my knee or kind of scooping the leg just a little bit, but not with a lot of power. See how he steps his leg outside my leg on the same side that he's grabbing my knee? But the real pressure, like the real tipping point, comes from the opposite side, which is under my arm, and he basically just kind of like pushes his shoulder into me. I'm not doing what he's doing. Position-wise, I'm doing what he's doing. But I'm stepping forward, whereas he's stepping to the side. And the reason that makes a difference, if I go forward, he still might fall over, but if he doesn't, it looks bad for me. But when you go sideways, you maintain your own balance, which is really important in Muay Thai.
This way, so
The
this way.
balance and
Sideways.
posture you have after a move is really important in Muay Thai. You can't be off balance or in a shitty position after you've done something dynamic and expect it to have the same impact as if you do something dynamic
grabs
and
the
are
knee
on
too.
balance at the end of it. You look really good. He's going to do it again slowly. Look at how he's putting his right leg outside my leg, and then he's not using power in his arm to like pull my knee. He's basically just pinning that leg in that position.
No.
The real thing that's tipping
you're
me
going
over
forward like
is his
this.
shoulder
You go through.
creating pressure on the side that's going under my arm. That side, the left side there. See how he's like clotheslining almost a little bit? There. I'm still going forward a little bit. You can see it works going forward, but my posture is broken at the end of it.
Yes.
There. I grabbed his
Better.
thigh on that
Better.
one, which I kind of hadn't done on the previous
Still
ones.
going forward. Yeah.
When you're scooping the leg, going sideways is really good because you're pinning it.
He scoops that knee. You scoop the knee.
Yeah, it's from the. Like,
Yeah, but you just hold it in. You don't have to even push.
So you
just keep
don't
it
have
from
to
moving.
pull the leg. You just have to pin it. Just hold it.
ก็เวลาคู่สู้ข้างในใช่ไหม
ใช่อาจจะว่าอะไรแขนไปตีไปนี่มาเราต้องเอา
So we're putting rhythm back into it. This is while knees are going. So
ต้องเร็ว
you're like knee, 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 and then when you have this opportunity, you go to the side, like as they're on one leg or as they're getting ready to knee. He says you have to do it fast. You can't like slowly push your opponent over. You basically have your window that you've timed, and you just do this really quickly, and it requires no power. Oh, I like this one too. See how he has his arm under my arm, and he almost like threads the needle and goes past me a little bit. But see how his left leg is on the inside of my right leg, so that when he starts to turn, his leg, without him lifting it at all, pops my leg into the air. Like I trip over it from the turn. But look at the bow in his front leg as he does that. It's like a discus thrower. Like it's just a straight arm and then twist.
ว่าข้างใน
I have a really hard time with this bowing my front leg just enough to off balance the opponent. I keep trying to like push it or knee it in some way. That's not how it works. You basically like lunge into it, and the turn itself is what kicks that leg out. No, I just fouled. You can't scoop the leg out like that. See how he's pushing with his ankle? You don't do that. You just stand
The knee.
so close to the
The
leg
knee.
and bend your knee that as the arm starts to twist, their leg is going to be lifted into the air by your leg being right next to it, not by you doing anything with the leg. It's a position of the leg, not a move of the leg, really. And again, See how he compasses out? His left leg stays where it is, like a leg of a compass, and his other leg comes around as he's turning in order to be able to land that knee on the other side of it. I did not move my leg at all when I just did it right there. So you can throw someone, that's fine, the throw will work. But if you're not setting up for the score on the other end of it, I lifted my leg, and he's like, you don't have to do that. Don't wait for the opponent's leg to be up. You want them to have a little bit of weight on it so that as you twist them, it lifts their leg into the air and they can't rebalance themselves. This Sataanmuanglek has an incredible giggle that you guys will hear throughout this, and he gets it more and more as we get into kind of nastier moves. But a lot of people know the popping the arm over as a move in the clinch. Tons of people have learned a version of this. What I've noted from everyone I've met who's come to Thailand and had this move in pocket is that they do not keep you pinned on the other side of it. They kind of pop the arm and then are done with the move. More important than how you pop the arm is holding the person's head and arm in place on the other side of it. Sataanmuanglek made a big deal about it, and Yodkunpan, who's also in the library, has a move where you wait for the knee and pop the arm over, and the way he holds the head and shoulder down in that horrible position on the other side of it is the move more than how you pop the arm itself. But what's kind of interesting about this one that Sataanmuanglek is showing is that this is for when your opponent is coming towards you. So you're doing kind of matador movement. As the opponent is kind of marching towards you, you basically just time their step and pop their guard over. It's not from a clinch position necessarily, it's from them coming forward and maybe even trying to grab you. What he was showing there is that if you don't bring your leg back and try to kneeing with your front leg, you have no power. That's why every single move, you need this leg flipping back, this compass leg thing. Every single turn in the clinch has that leg swinging around to create power for the knee. It's so ubiquitous in turns that is the spine of all turns in the clinch, is to bring that leg back around. If you mess up every single technique but have that leg coming back, you're in a better position than someone who has the technique but doesn't bring the leg back. So here he's showing me how to catch the kick and have a counter on the other end of it. Again, he made a point about when you catch the kick, you have to take a step over in the same direction as the kick is going to take the impact out of it. This is great if you have an opponent who's punching you in the body. If you're a forward fighter, people are going to be punching you in the body as you're trying to come forward. It's the same lunge back that he showed me about 10 minutes ago, but as they're punching, you just lean back a little bit, your back leg comes back, and you parry down, and then you've created this beautiful opening for that elbow on the open side. The opponent has already put all their power into the punch, and you parried it and lanced back, which means when you come back with that open side elbow, they're at the tip of their weight transfer. They can't really get away from you. Here he's showing me why I don't use my front side. So you don't want to parry with your front side and elbow with your front side because there's no power. You want to parry with your front side and elbow with your back side because you've brought your weight onto your back leg. So now you have double the power coming as you come back forward. Mami namnak means there's no weight in what you're doing. Your weight is already back, so trying to throw that front elbow is swatting at someone rather than wrecking them with an elbow that's coming from behind. This is really good. If you're a knee fighter, and you're fighting a knee fighter, either way, the way that you get away from knees is by putting your hips in. See how he's bending his hips in order to take away my space? I need space to knees, to throw knees. If I don't have space, I have to create the space myself, and then he knows where my weight is going to be. So in order to protect himself from a knee fighter, he's going to bend his hips in. The important thing to know about this is that you cannot just leave your hips in all the time, because then you leave yourself susceptible to turns. But the like flexing in and flexing out as a defense, and then creating your own space to land a knee and then closing it back up again, is how this works. But his hip has to be in as he's grabbing my leg on my knee in order to do that turn that he just did. You can't do it with your hips
You
back.
have to have your hip in for that catch, otherwise it's...
แต่ถ้าเราอย่างเงี้ยเราโดนน็อกแน่
So he's like, if your hips are back, you can't grab that knee and twist somebody. If your hips are in, you can grab them and twist them, and your legs are close together.
Oh.
But additionally, by keeping his hips in, I can't knee him in the middle because I don't have space. So my only option is to knee him on the side, which means he knows where my knee is going to come from and where it's going to land, so he can time that move, because he's closed the opportunity for me to have straight knees. So he knows it's going to be a knee to the side, and then he can grab it. It's creating predictability in your opponent.
เข้าไปดูเทคนิคกินปึ๊บมือปวดปุ๊บนวมไม่ดีแบบนี้
So he's saying when you have gloves on, you can't hold your hands. Like, your hands slip from each other. So you have to go wrist to wrist.
KO ได้เนี่ย
This was one of my favorite things that Sataanmuanglek showed me,
เจ็บไหมเจ็บไหม
and it was how I felt it.
ปึ๊บไม่เจ็บ
So
แต่ถ้าเราเอา
those of
ตัวนี้
you who
ใส่
have watched in the Muay Thai library, I have
คอหัก
It's a different lock.
What's the difference?
He's
Complete
using this to force your
hour
neck like
of the
that.
long clinch from
The shoulder, he says.
ปึ๊บ
You need-
เนี่ย
Tonnadet up in the north. Tonnadet is all about getting his head in. Sataanmuanglek is all about using the shoulders. These two fought each other, so it was like head versus shoulder. But this lock
Locking
that he's
you
doing
into the
right here is
bicep.
very standard. Like this,
Well, learn it.
creating a bar with your
Learn it,
arm and then
Sylvie.
pulling with your other arm, like creating a crank. Very standard. Lots of fighters do this. The reason Sataanmuanglek is so nasty, see how he's pushing his shoulder up as he does it? Holy shit, does that hurt. Like, the second his shoulder goes, you're screwed. Like, you can feel it when he does it. It cranks your neck so hard. It hurts, and it breaks your posture and takes all your power out of being able to get away from the position. This is going to take a
Oh,
minute
he's on the
because
other
I
side
couldn't
of the
figure out
cheek.
how he was doing it. So we're
And
going to
it-
keep going back and forth.
อันนี้ล็อกอันนี้ดันขึ้นดึง
So
มา
He's
you
locking
create
from
a
the
bar
side. It's-
with one side,
His body is moving past
and that
you.
arm doesn't do anything. The other arm that's gripping that arm, it's
He
like
goes this
you're
way.
flexing or like
this
doing
is
a like
the-
bicep
Yeah,
curl.
yeah, yeah.
That's what creates all the pressure on the back of the neck. But what Sataanmuanglek is doing that's completely
นอกนอก
unique from what I've ever felt
นอก
is he's pressing the shoulder
นี่นี่
of
ไม่ธรรมดา
the
นี่
shoulder
ต้องเอามือนี้
of the arm that's around the
ไอ้นี่
back of
เข้า
the
ใช่ไหม
head.
แต่มือนี้ดึง
So that
ดึง
one that
เข้ามา
doesn't do anything, that one
ดึง
that's
เข้ามา
just a bar,
ดึง
he's
เข้ามา
pressing the shoulder into the opponent. Oh, it fucking hurts, guys.
โอเค
I can't quite get the squeeze because I can
Come on,
feel
learn
that
it.
the shoulder
Sylvie,
needs to
learn
go
it.
there,
Yeah, same thing.
but I can't combine it with the squeeze of that arm. If you watch him as he gets into the
เจ็บไหม
position, he does this little dip.
มวยไทย
It's like a little like dolphin dip up. That's him getting his shoulder under my jaw so that when he starts to crank, he's pressing the shoulder under my jaw, which is what Tonnadet does with his head. But Sataanmuanglek's doing
Yeah,
it with
but
his
do
shoulder.
it so you can learn it.
Look at how he pushes his chest in. See how he's doing it in shadow?
เพราะว่าคนไทยไม่ค่อยสอนต่างชาติดูนะ
He's saying Thai people don't train this because they're afraid of hurting themselves and each other.
ไป
So a lot of people, when you fight them, they're not used to this position. I'm a clincher. I clinch a lot. I clinch for hours at a time. He does that to me once, and you can see me kind of like fall apart because it's so awful feeling. It breaks your entire power structure because it's so powerful of breaking that point on the neck. Oh,
He rolls his shoulder in. But
it's the
he
same
like
as the
rolls
coming
his
under
shoulder
Yeah, but
under. It's the
less-
same way he
less
rolled his
talking,
shoulder
more
under
doing.
in order to
So
do
you-
that turn,
try it because you're not feeling. Keep
like when he
trying.
went under my tricep.
มือนี้ดึงมือนี้ดึง
I'm not going up. Like, I'm trying to push my shoulder in,
It's the same
but
as
I'm
the-
not
only
going
this arm
up.
does anything, but you just have to push your shoulder.
Le-
Less talking, more feeling,
โอเค
Sylvie.
ดึงมาโอเค
So that's the normal That's the
Dang, dang.
normal lock.
แดง
Oh,
ๆ
But then look at how he
the
pushes his shoulder
forward.
in the
จับ
shadow.
ตรงนี้แล้ว
อืมใช่
So I'm like, you already have your grip, you've already grabbed them, you already have your other hand ready to crank,
แต่ถ้าอย่างเงี้ยไม่อยู่
you're already in
ใช่ไหม
position.
กดอย่าง
But
เงี้ย
then as you start to
แล้ว
squeeze,
ก็ดึงเข้ามา
the squeeze has the shoulder pressing forward at the same time. What I had a very hard time figuring out, but eventually felt, was rolling the shoulder under, and then as you
Lower, yeah.
squeeze, you push it up.
Dude,
So
see?
the shoulder comes up.
As long as you
more than
feel it
in.
one time, Sylvie.
He's touching me under the chin. He's showing me how he wiggles his shoulder under the chin, and then pushes up.
You feel intense pressure here, and then his shoulder is under.
So you
I'm not
feel
putting
the
my shoulder
pressure
under.
from
So
the
put
lock
it under
itself,
so you can feel it.
Baby,
and then
I can feel
the
it from the pain side. It's
shoulder
hard to feel from
forces
the
your
Yeah, but
chin up,
you have to do it to
and it
feel
just crushes
Stop
like
talking
right
about
where
it.
your neck meets your head.
Feel for it.
It's horrible.
อ้าว โอเคโอเคโอเค
So see how I'm starting to raise my left shoulder a little bit? I'm starting to feel the push.
งัด
But
ขึ้นไม่ใช่
here's where I
ไม่
finally
งัด
understand that it goes up.
อ๋อใช่ It's
It
not pressure
elevates
here, it's
a
up.
little bit.
Yeah, feel it
เข้า
though.
ใจไหม
So I gotta wiggle my shoulder under his jaw.
อืม
There we go.
โอเค
There we
เนี่ย
go.
เข้าใจปุ๊บงัดขึ้น
ใช่
ไม่ใช่
It was the
ไม่ใช่
same
หลังเข้าไป
thing when
ไม่ใช่หลั
he's
งเข้าไป
doing his
งัดขึ้น
turns where he goes underneath your
อันนี้
tricep
ต้องล็อกนะล็อก
and
ไว้
kind of
มือ
pushes your arm
หลั
up.
งเนี่ย
You have to
เจ็บแน่
prop up. It's not so much squeezing close together
โอเค
as like elevating with your shoulder up while you're in that pretty basic lock position. Oh, it's so good though. Look at it. Look at his shoulder go.
สบายสบายโอ้ย
As a clinch and knee fighter, he does come forward quite a lot, but he's also very like stingy. He's very small, so his like body punches and leg kicks and like all of these things to kind of annoy the opponent before grabbing them is a little bit on the femur scale of knee fighters.
เร็วๆช้าไม่ได้เร็ว
ใช่ใช่ใช่
He just said "Reo reo cha mai dai."
ๆไม่ต้องใช้แดงแค่
He's saying you have to go fast. You cannot do any of these turns slow.
ใช่
Turning someone is not a slow thing. Ah. I didn't bring my leg back. But a knee in the face.
ดันจับเอวถ้าคนนี่ไม่ดีไม่ดีเนี่ยนี่กูดยูโร
So he's saying when someone grabs your body, you have to have this bent position. You can't stand up with your hips in because then they can break you. So when someone grabs your body, you have to bring your hips back first to create that space between your bodies, and then you can like
สบายสบายรอบ
use your upper body to peel them off.
ทุบอยู่
Again, Yod Kun Pan has a very similar peel off.
จับแล้วอันนี้ก่อนอันนี้ก่อนเอาล็อกปุ๊บ
So I lock him. Look at what he does first.
ไอ้ตรงนี้ก่อนปุ๊บ
First, he puts his hips back, but his knees are bent towards me. He's not putting his ass back. He's like bending himself to get a really solid leg base, and then he twists in one direction. See how one hand is on the ribs or underneath the armpit, and the other one's on the neck?
แข็งแข็งแข็งแข็งมานะเอาล็อกล็อกแข็งแข็ง
Look at the flex in his legs, though. Like, he's not stiff. Even though I've grabbed his body and he's, like, dropped his weight to resist me, his body's not stiff. Like, he's not,
โอเค
tense.
ปุ๊บนี่ก่อนเดี๋ยวนี่มือนี้ขึ้นบนขึ้นหัว
So see how I put my right leg inside
อ่า
his front leg? That means that when I kind of bend my legs for the turn, it's going to bow into his stance and break his stance at the same time without me having to like
มือนี่เห็นไหม
lift my leg or kick my leg or anything.
นี่
See how his right arm's
โอ
just
เค
on my arm? It's just guiding me over. But the twist of his entire body is what makes me go because of how close we are. He's not using strength on it. I'm creating too much space between the two of us, which is why my turn is not throwing him.
ขานี่ออก
ไม่ไป
ไม่ไป
He's saying I have to bring my leg out.
มันต้องเห็นไหม
ใช่
ขานี่ออกขานี่ต้องไปปึ๊บหมุนเห็นไหม
See how his leg against my leg, he just bent it. Like he didn't kick my leg up, he didn't lift his leg up, he just bent it. By bending it and kind of squatting a little bit, as he turns, the bend in his leg forces me off of my position.
Very little.
It's so
Very little
slight,
minute.
but when you're experiencing it, you flip pretty hard.
I don't understand how to pop this leg
Yeah,
out
just
and
a
have this one
little.
go at the same
It's just a
time.
little bit.
I have a hard
It's not
time
a
popping
real
the leg out and
serious
twisting at
pop.
the same time because I see the popping of the leg as a push on his leg rather than just bending
That
it
was
to
better.
create like a door jam that he's going to trip over.
อีกวิธีหนึ่งวิธีแก้เตะมาเตะขามาเตะขามาเตะปักล็อกคอล็อกคอล็อกคอเอาเขามา
So this is when you catch a kick and the opponent grabs your neck and kind of like pulls out. So we call this the wall of China, like when someone has their leg across you to like break your ability to knee in the clinch and they're like holding onto your neck. What he's showing me is something that my own trainer Krunu insists on also, which is that you basically push the front of the thigh that's on your legs, and so he's going to push that back towards my foot, and he's going to use his left arm to push my head forward in the opposite direction. So it's like spinning a wheel, but I'm on one leg.
วิธีการแทงเขาแทงมา
See how he's using timing on it? Like he's not letting me stay in that position for very long. He doesn't let me get in a really deep pushback first. And then this is cool because he's a contemporary fighter. He's using this blocking of knees with his knee that kind of has, in my experience, come from more older style teachers. It's kind of like a slight Baran move to like knee into somebody's kick. But he's doing it, and he's actually very comfortable with it. He's like, you don't have to do it really hard. Just a little bit is in the fleshy part is going to be really painful. And what's really nice about it is it allows you to stay really close. Like you don't have to give up any distance in order to block and defend. You don't want to defend yourself with distance. You want to stay really close, especially as a knee fighter. Oh. There, starting to use a little bit of timing. He said that it was a little bit too slow. So I got him down, but it would have like whipped him if I had gone faster. He said you wait for them to be on one leg. So basically he was already bringing his leg down from his knee when I started to twist him. So he could have caught himself. But if you do it fast enough when they're on one leg, when their other leg is at the peak of its knee or kick or whatever he's doing, you have much less need for strength. His giggle is absolutely incredible. It's so strange. So now we're starting to spar a little bit. See how he puts his back leg on the rope? Like he just feels exactly where he is in the ring. And then he knows where I am, so he can time what my weapons might be coming at him while he's in the rope.
Can you ask about clinch entry?
So this
and
is something
marking?
that
Tell him you're a darn fighter,
Gansak
Muay Thai.
Sorplunjit, he's also in the library. Something that he said to me many, many years ago is that in clinch, you use strength first, and when your strength and their strength is the same, you go to technique. And that's what you just saw with me and him, is that we were kind of clinching against the ropes, and it was strength against strength, but then I used the timing to flip his arm over, and it did not look close anymore. I'm asking him, as a Muay Thai fighter, I have to come forward. When I'm close already, I'm fine, I'm good. But when I'm far away and I have to close that distance, it's dangerous on your way in. So he's like, yeah, you don't just walk forward, you have to use all of these like leg kicks, body punches, like annoying little moves to interrupt your opponent's attention before you can grab them. He actually likes to throw a left cross before grabbing because he says it closes his opponent's eyes. here he's making a point about how everyone has strong abs. If you knee straight, they have muscles to protect themselves. If you knee them like right down the middle.
ไม่มีกรรมใช่ไม่มีกรรม
If you knee into someone's ribs,
คนไทย
they
ไม่มี
can't
คน
flex.
คนไทย
There
ไม่มี
aren't enough muscles there to
แต่ฝรั่ง
protect
โอเค
them.
นะฝรั่งปึ๊ดโอเคแต่คนไทยนี่สองนี่มีสอง
ใช่
นี่
So
ไว้
not only do you knee to the side because people don't have muscles there, but you want to have strong abs so that down the middle you are protected.
อ่าเทคนิคเราไปทางไหน good
So I created space in order to throw that knee, but look at how he pushes his shoulder to break my posture first and then yanks back to throw the knee, which basically completely weakens your opponent so that when you land that knee, the impact is just way greater than if they have pretty good strength and posture. This is why balance is so important in Muay Thai.
กันไม่ได้กินกันโอ้ยโอ้ยทำไง
So he's on one leg, which actually should make him be susceptible to me kicking his leg or off balancing him or any of the things that he's been showing me, but he's annoying me with that front leg so much that it's effectively keeping me too far away. One of the things about being a clinch fighter and a knee fighter is that you have to have these like pockets of bravery to get past those mind tricks basically by your opponents. So this is as someone's coming forward, he's showing how to use elbows on the inside. So he actually hits my guard with his back elbow first, and then his front elbow comes inside the guard. So he's distracted me with the first one, and then the second one lands. Look at his legs though. Like the bend in his legs and the width of his stance, the way he can flex forward and back. This is so beautiful and illustrative of his style. That's why he can like lunge into your leg and twist you, is because of that stance that he has and the bow and flex that he has in his knees all the time.
ได้เหมือนกันปุ๊บปุ้งแล้วแต่ทันปั๊บปังนะ
ใช่
อบลงก็ฟันเหมือนกัน
ใช่ทั้งนี้
ใช่
นี่ใช่ไหม
ปัง
So see how he actually pulled
พร้อมกันพร้อมกัน
my arm across.
นั่นมา
My guard is up as I'm coming in. He pulls my guard across my own body to open me up
ปั๊บ
and then throws that elbow.
ฟันข้างนี้ใช่ไหม
I went with the wrong side.
อ่า
I pushed and then elbowed on his closed side, but you want to pull across and then elbow in the opening that you just created.
ปังเหมือนกันปังเหมือนกัน
Look at the difference in our stances. Like, look at the flex in his knees and his legs and how he can just kind of like lance forward and back versus the stance that I have like when I come forward, there's a stopping point and then I have to reverse to go back. He has more of a like sliding scale, whereas mine is more of like a step ladder, I guess. These are important things to note.
เขาเตะขาทำไง
They're how posture works and how like weight transfer works.
เตะขาเนี่ยวิธีการลูกเตะขาเตะมากปัง
This I loved. So when your opponent is coming to knee or kick you, like leg kicks, see how he's just teeping the inside of my leg before I can even get my leg up. I can't kick him. Like, I can't even get my leg off the ground. He said when you train it, use your toes because you're being nice to your training partner. But when you fight for real, use your heel because it hurts. It damages the muscle.
เขาจะไม่หาไม่
ไม่
เตะ
ใช่ทีบใช่ไหมตลอดปัง
อ่า
There was construction outside and some huge slab of something dropped and made a like shotgun sound that I barely noticed and he was very startled by it.
เจ็บมาก
Look at his weight though. His weight is on his back leg so that he can do that little hop forward teep.
ถ้าคนไหนไวก็ได้ถีบ
ใช่
ถีบป่ะ
Dieselnoy, king of knees, also in the library, he's very long and he keeps his weight on his back leg so that he can bounce that front leg and throw these really long, nasty teeps. It's the same thing of keeping your weight on your back leg that Sataanmuanglek is doing right here, but he has this very short, kind of hoppy way of interrupting
ใช่
the opponent's kicks from that distance. But he's staying really close.
ติไม่ได้ติก็ไม่มีแดง
ใช่
แต่ถ้าทำเงี้ยติแดงเข้าใจไหม
He keeps saying how you have to bring your weight back before firing the power shot, otherwise there's no power. So as he's trying to kick my leg, he's trying to teep my leg, I'm just going to flex back so that he misses, but then my back leg is what's going to kick him rather than the leg that I just dodged with, because the leg I just dodged with has no power.
ไม่
ไม่
ได้
ได้ใช่
ไม่ได้ใช่ไหมเราต้องปุ๊บอย่างเงี้ย
ใช่
โอเคปุ๊บป้อง
ใช่
แต่มวยจะมวยดี
So we're sparring a little bit now, like we're getting a little bit more loose and freestyle in what we're doing, but look at how he does that like
เว
fake
ลาเจอพวก
teep.
มวยเขาเนี่ยจะบอกเดินมาปุ๊บดอกปุ๊บดอกเนี่ย
He's like, if you're Muay
ทำ
Khao,
อะไรเลยแค่
which he is,
ดอกเฉย
as someone's coming, you want to fake, fake,
what is
fake.
that? Can you
Everyone
learn
knows
that?
you're going to knee.
Can
So if
you
you
learn
fake
it?
a knee or fake a teep, you get people kind of like stuttering.
พี่หมัดจริงเราเนี่ย
His fake teep is nuts. It reminds me a
Don't
little bit
describe
of
it to it,
Kruod.
Sylvie, baby.
He's in the Muay Thai library. He was at Somrak Kam Singh's gym.
มาดิเดินมาดิ
But the way that Sataanmuanglek does this fake
Sylvie.
teep
แม่นู้น
is
ปัง
so bizarre because his leg comes up and then pushes down.
ดอก
Look at how his heel goes down.
ปุ๊บยันออกไป
Whoa.
It's almost like
that?
Kevin's like, whoa. It's almost like he's cycling a bicycle backwards. That's what it looks like to me.
Oh, he stomps down.
But he does it
like a
so fast that
แฮนแฮน
your mind is going, what the fuck was that? Like while he's punching you in the face because he's already done with the
ย
move.
กก่อนแล้วก็
ใช่
ใช่ไหม
ยกขึ้นแล้วก็ดึงออกไป
Yokkun means to
God,
like
it's
raise
crazy.
it up
เนี่ยยก
and
ขึ้น
then
มา
you cycle it down. Look at what he does with his heel. And then he gets really long.
ยกขึ้นแล้วก็วาง
like a bicycle going back
Like a bicycle.
So this can actually be a block and this can actually be a teep or it can be nothing.
แน่นะ
Like look at how his weight stomps down on the end of it.
ปั๊บปุ๊บปั๊บ
It's so bizarre looking, but it's so fast.
โอ้ย
I was way into it.
กลัวไหม
Can you practice?
He says,
baby?
Blue, am I?
Yeah.
Like, did that make you scared? Like it totally, when it's happening, you're like, oh my god, what is that? Look at how, look at how horribly it's distorting my ability to even come forward.
very slow when I do it
Yeah, but if you just do it. Just do it.
See how his weight is
Yeah.
shifting around all the time? His feet aren't like shuffling around. He's not doing like a like karate or kickboxing like hopping around. His feet are actually quite stable, but the constant shifting of weight and small position changes makes him very hard to track. He brings his leg up and just kind of shakes it back and forth, and so now I'm just staring at his leg and I like have no options, and then he's punching me in the face while I'm still trying to sort out what the hell his leg is doing.
ปุ๊บปังปุ๊บปุ๊บทีบนะ
See how he's using the jab and the teep? Like
ปุ๊บโอ้ย
he's so fast.
ปุ๊บปุ๊บปุ๊บ
ปังถ้าหลบลังแยบใช่ไหม
So I'm trying to figure out how he's throwing that jab as he's landing off of the fake. So like you cycle your leg backwards, like you're on a bicycle going backwards. But then as you stomp down, you're throwing the jab.
กลัวใช่ไหม
ใช่
ว่าเราไม่ได้ทำเราแค่ดอก
But see how his standing leg slides forward a little bit to give length to that jab when he actually stomps down to land it. Like he's taking distance at the same time that he's doing this fake.
กระแทกให้สลับปุ๊บแค่เนี้ยปัง
So he's setting up for that back arm.
ปุ๊บปังปุ๊บปุ๊บปัง
I'm like super still until I decide to do the fake, so it's like the one thing that I'm moving for, whereas he's moving all the time. So the fake itself is way more distracting and convincing because he's moving around all the time.
โอ้กันกัน
I'm starting to like walk through his irritating keeping things up in the air thing. That's the way to deal with people who like fake by leaving something in the air, is to just kind of walk through it. But you might have to take a few as you're doing that. He's doing a bit of a Sanchai bicycle kick here now. This is good because he floats that front leg anyway. So with that front leg floating, you can turn that into the bicycle kick because you're already floating the leg. You can't float the leg in order to do the bicycle kick if it's not something you were already doing. So here, now that we're locked up, it becomes a matter of who's timing whom. Like, am I faking that I'm going to throw the knee, or am I really throwing the knee, and is he going to throw me on the knee, or is he not? So see how, oh, yes, that was the wrong leg. But I'll take credit for that. Act like you won the fight. He's saying that was correct because I was sabai first. He said you felt very relaxed. Like, I looked very relaxed and then did this throw, so he wasn't anticipating it. If you tense up and you're, like, trying to time when you can throw it with tension, people can feel that you're trying to do it. You have to truly hide, even in like your weight transfer and your relaxation and musculature and posture, when you're going to do these things. And it just takes time in practice. This is something that you'll learn in Thailand regardless of what camp you ever go to, is the way to close off your neck with your shoulder. So if somebody already has your neck and you roll your shoulder like this, you can actually pop their forearm off because it creates pressure. The difficulty is that you have to stay close. A lot of people, when they're trying to shrug their shoulder up, will step back, and when you create more space, you take the pressure off of their forearm. So you have to stay really close. What I noticed when Sataanmuanglek was teaching it to me is that same thing that I struggled with on his lock, is that the shoulder kind of comes up underneath the forearm. Like, it's not from the side of the forearm, it's underneath it. Look at his roll. Another fighter who uses his shoulders in clinch to an incredible degree is Karahat. If you watch his sessions in the Muay Thai library, you'll see lots of shoulder rolling in his clinch. This is good for small fighters who might not necessarily be able to use strength all the time. Is using this technique and pressure points. You can create big impact without wearing yourself out or going against a bigger opponent who has more strength than you. So here we're timing each other. I still get quite still before I do a move, but at least I'm relaxed in my stillness so I can hide it a little bit. See how he's timing those knees? Like, he actually takes a couple of them in order to time when he can scoop the knee. He's like, in a real fight, if you take a straight knee, even if it's real, even if you're actually impacted by it, they're going to want to throw a second one, and so that's when you scoop it. So I'm not scissoring my arms quite enough. You have to have the push on the neck and the push on the knee going in opposite directions at the same time. There we go. He's saying the first time you want the impact of the knee because it invites the second one. That doesn't mean you necessarily have to take it. You can, do something else. But if you take that first knee, it invites another one, and then you can have like a swift timing dynamic move on that. Look at his twists. Look at how he compasses with his legs. He's showing me there how that does not work. He pivots, he switches stance in order to bring the leg back for power. I'm laughing because it looks so ridiculous when he imitates what I was doing and tells me not to do that. You can tell why you don't do that. So look at his feet as he's changing position. He's just shifting around, but he changes angles quite a lot.
ล็อกไม่ล็อก
Oh, his front leg is so good the way he does that fake teep. And it can turn into a knee too if I'm coming forward. His body punches are very fast too. He, in the last couple of years, has also become a Western style boxer at Chai Sasakun's gym. That's actually where we are right now. Chai
Can you ask
was
about the
a
grab?
WBC champion. He
Clinch
lost
entry?
his belt to Pacquiao. But he is an incredible boxing coach, and Sataanmuanglek has been training with him and boxing, and he's won a title already, ABF, with Chai. Chai is also in the library. He's incredible. So what he's saying to me there is that as a knee fighter, as you're trying to come forward, if they just keep teeping you, you're
Okay,
basically
so
just
how
going to
does
be
he
like
grab?
bouncing off of the
How to
teep.
grab from southpaw?
มวยเขาด้วย ไม่ได้มาก
So I'm asking,
เห็นไหม
No.
as a southpaw fighter, how does he grab?
Yeah, but he's countering you.
He's not quite understanding what I'm asking, so he's like countering me with elbows. And I'm like, no, I know how I can get elbowed as I'm trying to come in. I'm asking how he grabs.
But how does
And
he
he's
grab?
saying that you have to teep first.
Okay, can we
Like
see
he's
in
interrupting
the
on
video?
the legs first. But his favorite way to grab as a southpaw fighter is he actually throws his left cross, and then as the opponent's eyes are closed from that cross, he grabs with the same arm. So it's left cross, left grab.
เข้าไปเลยอ่ะถูกมากเข้าไปปั้มมันต้องไปอย่างเงี้ยปั๊บเห็นไหม
But see how he's teeping my legs first? Like he's basically distracting me high and low.
แต่ถ้ามือนี้เข้าไปปั้มเรามีโอกาสทุบได้แต่ถ้าเข้าไปก็ไปต้องเก็บคางแต่ถ้ามือนี้เข้าไปต้องเก็บคาง
He's saying that
แต่ถ้าไปอย่างนี้ไม่ได้
if you don't punch them first, if you just come in and try to grab with that arm, you can be countered. Like the elbow can slip to the inside.
อ่า
But basically they're dealing with your punch as you're grabbing
อ่า
them.
นี่โอ
How,
เค
how
แต่
does
ห้ามเอามือ
he
นี้ไปปั้ม
grab?
ก่อน
He punches and then grabs with that arm.
He, can I see? Can,
คุณเวลาเดินโดยจับใช่ไหม
ได้
ทำแบบไหน
ทำแบบนั้น
So here's the one he likes. So see how he jabs, teeps the leg,
ถ้าเราปั้มไม่ได้เราต้องมีอาวุธไปก่อน
crosses,
ปั้มปั้มแล้วก็
and then grabs.
Yeah, he grabs with
So
that
So like
So
he
he
barely
punches-
pulls his arm back off of the cross and then just hooks around the back.
ต่อยก่อนหรือว่าเย็บก่อนคุณปั้มได้
ใช่
ต้องทำให้เขาหลับตา
But look at how he twists his back leg as he's grabbing. It looks like the cross.
เข้าไปปุ๊บ
Like it's the same twist of his body. He has quite a bit of strength when he grabs.
so he uses his cross.
It's really important when you're learning
grab?
clinch and when you're learning throws and when you're learning
And then
blocks.
grab.
All
Okay.
of these things, you can learn them in isolation to like get the technique down and like what the particular angles are, but you have to then put it into the context of all the other movements that are going to be in a fight leading into it. You can't leave them in isolation. You have to have like an intro and an outro to all of these moves, which is why we keep moving into kind of like sparring and kind of moving around each other in order to get into those clinch positions. I love this, how he rips his leg out. So if someone's caught your kick, see how he bends his knee down and then reverses really hard? It like ripped my ribs. Especially if you're already Vaselined up, the leg's gonna slip out. But it rubs the ribs in a pretty painful way by whipping it that hard. See how he turns his knee down? And then as he turns it back up, he's whipping it and it slips out.
เข่านี่เข่านี้
ดึงออกมา
ใช่นี่ก่อน
Balance on the end of things, but learn them first. Nice, and then you can teep as well. Like I didn't get my leg quite out, and so I just teeped his body because it was a little bit stuck. See how he's just annoying my legs? He's interrupting my legs so much that with me coming forward, if my legs are being interrupted, it just slows me
Oi,
down
don't
and
leave.
kind of makes me stutter. This is why every single turn has to have that leg pivot. I turned him fine, but then I actually couldn't knee on the other end of it because I
His
did
shoulder?
not compass my legs the
Oh,
way
can
that
you
he
learn
kept
it a little
talking
bit,
about.
Sylvie?
เนี่ยตีไปก่อนตีพอเราดึงตุ๊บปังใส่เลยตี
See how he's got one hand on my back and one hand on my arm? This is like a half position that he can totally flip me from. A lot of people try to get the double clinch all the time with like both hands behind the head. You don't see that a lot in stadium Muay Thai. It's very hard to get to that position, especially if the person you're fighting knows a bit about clinch as well.
Yeah.
So getting into this half position, you can get a lot of throws and movement and manipulation of your opponent off of that. So this is when I'm trying to grab his neck. He went under. Like
For a small
as I'm
fighter?
trying to climb up to the top, he just dips under me and twists me to the side.
โอเคโอเคแม่เนี่ยเอาล็อกก่อน
So I've got the double clinch, the double plum on him. He can't get me off. So he's gonna go under and see how he gets his elbow past my elbow. And then he's just gonna turn. I'm in a terrible position there. I'm outside, but I have one arm on his arm, so I can kind of change position. This is why you want to swim for many different positions
Oh,
while you're
yeah.
training clinch. You don't want to like
Yeah.
drill things in one position over and over again. You want to be able to like lose your position and then find a new one and then maybe even get back to the one that was pretty good before.
Oh. He goes under.
His giggle while he's
Under the arm.
kneeing me in the face.
Is that
It's under.
from someone?
So this
having,
one
like,
I can
a
feel
half-
because
know.
I'm getting totally whipped down, but I can't quite tell how he's doing it. Kevin kept telling me that he was locking his arms, and I kept not locking my arms. So see how he goes under? He gets near my armpit. He's gonna lock his hands, and then he twists hard
He
in
first
one
gets his
direction,
hand
and his
under the arm
forearm
and
actually
rests it
is
there.
what's forcing my neck down. But because he went under my armpit with his arm behind my elbow, it forces my arm
No, you
over.
lock your hand.
มือนี้ต้อง
You lock your hand.
หัวเราต้องเข้าใจไหม
So here he's gonna break it down a little bit.
ปึ๊บนูกุดมือนี้
He's saying this is no good because his bicep
ปึ๊บ
has
เนี่ย
to
อยู่มันมอง
push my shoulder while his forearm pushes my neck.
นูกุดนูกุด
Why no good?
กุด
Because he can't go.
Oh.
My arm is stuck to my face like this.
So at the end of it,
Yeah,
I'm
but he's saying no
basically
good.
No,
like
he's saying no,
crushed
if you
into
go-
my
if
own
you take
arm.
it all the way to the side.
Oh.
If you try to do it like this, you have to go all the way to the side.
Mm.
But you have to take a really deep pivot. If you don't take a deep
Gotta lock
pivot
your
and get
hands.
really close to your
Lock.
opponent, you can't go all the way around. Like you're gonna get stuck
No, lock.
part way there. So you have to
Palm
like
to palm.
take a step
Palm to
towards
palm.
the outside of your opponent's stance. Look at him do it really slowly.
He's
and then he
palm-
squeezed at the
He's
end.
palm to palm.
Oh, it was so
Sylvie,
awful.
Palm to palm.
ปึ๊บอยู่ปึ๊บ
But look at
นูกุดปึ๊บ
look at how he closes his arms. He creates a lock.
If my arm is on his neck, that's no good. He moves his arm under so that my arm slips to the side.
So if my
So
arm
I
is
don't-
already
I
on
don't
his
want it
neck,
here. I want
it's
to go
no
under.
good.
Under.
He has to
Yeah.
slip his
So that
arm
when I
under
go-
my
Uh,
arm
Lock
to
your
basically
hand.
break my lock.
Yeah, lock.
And then when he does his
Lock
deep
your hand.
pivot,
Yeah, the whole
it like
time.
throws my arm over my own face.
อือหืออีอื้อหืออี
He knew I was gonna do it and he beat me to it. Oh, timing, timing. You can tell how many hours he's been in the clinch pit by how much joy he gets out of like me getting a moment and him getting up and being like, yeah, I'm gonna get that back.
Teach that. Learn that.
Here he's gonna show me what he just did. So when my knee comes up, so I'm on one leg, he just barely touches my ankle, which is pinning my standing leg. But the real reason I go flying is by the twist.
เบาไม่ได้เบาไม่ลงอี
So I have to kind of pull him towards my hip.
อีอีนะอี
You're like doing a pirouette on the spot. Like your twist
compass
is
says
what
out.
really sends them flying.
Compass turn.
It's not pulling so much as like twisting on a spot.
มือนี่ทีนี้ก่อน
But again, see how he's bringing his leg back
มีก่อน
so that he has the knee on the other side of that.
อี
So he's saying that I can't kick his ankle with the bottom of my foot. I have to kind of like put my leg on the side of his leg rather than like trying to kick it out. You're just pinning it, really.
That's beautiful.
He's saying that when you don't do
This
gently,
one
that
you
when
do with a little bit of power. Like this one you kind of like
If you do it gently, they might not go down.
Yeah.
And you want
have
them
to
like
put pressure
drop.
on the leg.
Yeah.
Ragdoll drop.
If you do that one too gently, they won't go down. You have to kind of like have a little bit of a like stump against the leg. Look at his tiny movements. He's totally like Karahat, the way that he's constantly shifting his feet and like changing his weight. This one I like, so I turned him down onto the ground. He has a secondary move from the ground to drop your opponent after they've dropped you. Look at this. So I put him down. This is what he showed me, right? So I like scoop his leg and put him down. But once he's down and I go to knee him, he grabs the knee that I'm kneeing with and just scoops it. He like does the move right back to me from the ground. This is totally like when two people topple to the ground and you'll see them roll on each other for who lands on top, because that's who gets the point. I love that you like drop your opponent from the ground. He's telling me to knee him in the middle while putting his hips forward, and I know that he's setting up for something. So I'm resistant to doing what he's asking me to do. But look at, he has his hips forward, and so he's doing this leap into the air and like putting a bar of his knee into my belly. This is a fancy, kind of funny move when you like are already dominant, but look at how much it breaks my posture. Like, even if he doesn't do it really hard, it breaks my posture so severely that that is a huge dominant moment without it being like a super powerful knee. That was a good turn on my part, but I didn't step close enough to his leg, which is why he didn't get turned all the way. Again, it's this thing about pressure points on the arms. You don't create the pressure that you need if you're too far away from your opponent. You have to stay really close, and you always like, if you picture yourself being on a vector point with a V going to the outside of your opponent's stance, you always want to be stepping to the end of that V on all of your turns. Always track your opponent's feet on turns. Oh, landed the knee but didn't bring the leg back. That's why it wasn't a knockout. Look at how steadily he comes forward. He's not rushing. He's not like windmilling. He's totally just like wading in. Now that my arm is under, this is not a great position, but all the throws that he showed me are from that under position. So that's where you want to practice that.
When his shoulder goes in, you're fine.
Once his shoulder's in, you're so screwed. Like, you can feel it.
Shoulder?
You can feel there's nothing you can do.
What is that with the shoulder? Can you learn that,
Oh,
Sylvie?
he's pushing it into my chin already. So see how he's not trying to trip me going past that leg? Instead, he steps towards the leg and then twists kind of away from it. So my right leg goes towards his leg, and I twist to my left, and my right leg is going to pop his leg. But see how his head is on that side? Like, normally your head is on the side that you're going to twist towards.
No, his lead one.
He reverses it.
He steps between.
But you have to pivot really deep. There we go. That's that like bend in the leg I was trying to get earlier. But see how he's like throwing his shoulder as he does that? He's showing how you generate the power by the like pop against the shoulder.
It spins. It's like that video of him.
There's this incredible training video of him where he's the man in the middle and there's like 4 or 5 guys he's clinching against, and he just drops them. Like, they come in and he drops them. It's like a kung fu movie of like 1 against 5 or whatever.
Can you feel that?
And it's all this like super twisting turning that he's showing me right here, where you like twist on a dime and have this like compass point that you're flipping around. this rolling of the shoulder under the jaw is a huge thing.
This, and then wherever he twists you.
So I pushed my shoulder up into him and then ended up pulling in the opposite direction. So you don't
The
have to
shoulder?
commit to one direction all the time
Yeah, you could
in
talk
your
about that on the
turns.
video. Just
You
feel
basically
it while
want to
you're
like
with him.
feel where your opponent's weight is going, and you can like go one way and then flip. Oh, look at how he pivots on a dime. So tight. Now my shoulder is up under his jaw.
Ah.
By pushing his chin up,
ตัวเขาต้องลอยใช่ไหม
he doesn't have the power that he needs. In order to relieve the pressure from my shoulder being in his jaw, he's going to go way up on his toes, and then once his weight is up like that, it's really easy to turn him.
Yeah. So you get
So you're
them to be
creating
up,
a pressure under
up
his
high?
jaw to force him
Ask
to
them
be
what to do when
taller,
they put the hips in,
and then
because
you
many
can
girls do against
flip him.
you.
ซิมซิมยูดูสตรองสตรอง
So he wants me to grab him really strong. But because he's leaning with his shoulder under my arm, he can twist me like that. Now he's showing me these slight lifts where you
Oi.
can like super throw someone and ragdoll someone. Namkabuan was called the body throw expert, and he's actually really good at stuff like this. It's this very slight lift and then a tipping at the feet.
ขาปุ๊บ
There's no way someone can catch themselves off of that.
ช่วงปุ๊บ
I'm too far away. See how I
อร่อย
like
ชัด
tackled him? My ass was too far
That's
back
what to do
as I
when the
grabbed
glove
him.
put the
I
hip
have
in.
to stay
Yeah.
really close, do a slight lift, and then tip. This is actually a really good thing to do if their hips are already
ยิ่ง
in.
ง่ายเข้ามาหาเราแล้ว
See how
ใช่เลย
you can put your hips in to make it so they have to knee you on the side or to like protect yourself from their knees. But if you leave your hips in like that, these are the turns that you're susceptible to. So you want to be able to have flexibility in where your hips are. Defense, offense, turn, flip, move. Like you want to be moving in the clinch all the time. It's not a static position.
โอ้ย
I love how he comes forward. He just like takes the space and then stands in it, and he's ready to like counter or be kind of like jabby about things. Like he's very stingy, the way that Rambaugh stings, but he keeps his distance in a really nice way.
นี่ปุ๊บนี่
So this is when someone's against the ropes doing the wall of China. He's showing me again that move that he showed me earlier.
Towards
It's
the knee.
super easy when someone's back is against the ropes
Towards
like
the knee.
this.
ใช่ไหม
You have to kind of twist in the same way that he's been showing me these twists to like push on the arm or the back or the neck and then push against the thigh. But look at his legs when he does it. Right now he's saying don't push against your opponent against the ropes. Everyone hates this. But see his legs? See how he like,
ชนะ
it's that same
I think
compass
that's good,
turn.
baby. Yeah.
มาฝรั่งต่อยหมัดตีขา
He's saying Westerners love to come forward punching like this, and it's easy to just keep their legs and like keep them back.
สบายทีบเพราะว่าฝรั่งโป๊ะลงขาใช่ไหม แต่เราแก้นะปั๊บ
So basically, if someone's trying to come forward punching you, you just go downstairs. You just keep their legs. This is how you deal with boxers.
ออกมาทีบ
But then once my head starts diving forward,
ใช่ไหมเอาลองทีมา
he's actually saying don't teep the body because you can catch it. It's really easy to catch a teep to the body. You should not reach for, so either they won't, or if they do reach for it, it's a mistake if you teep the legs.
จับทางนี่
It's like just teep the legs. It's super easy.
จับดิ
The teep is so great for knee fighters because you're juggling your opponent. You're keeping them at the distance you want all the time. If you're not a knee fighter, also use the teep to keep your opponent where you want them to be.
ไม่มีจับเงี้ยมีแต่ปุ๊บเงี้ย
แล้วก็ถ้าพยายามแบบนี้โอเค good
ใช่
It's great if they reach for a teep to the thigh because then you can just knee them in the face. Oh, Sataanmuanglek was great. He's got so much technique.